So first, Feliz Dia de Amistad y Amor. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I want to say that I want you to imagine where I was a few years ago. I had a medical emergency. I ended up at a hospital here, and the doctor who was head of the hospital was my doctor. And he said, "You're too far gone. We're not going to save you. Goodbye." And he walked out of the emergency room. I still felt pretty vital. And I hired a private ambulance, and I got to Mexico City, and here I am today. I'm so proud to tell you. At that point, I was not yet a member of SkyMed. I didn't have the option to fly home, so I went to Mexico City, and it took a very long time to get to Mexico City. They missed my exit, even though I said, "This is the exit." So it was a pretty traumatic experience. So the life you save could be your own. If you have a medical emergency, and as the first doctor that I went to here when I got here 18 years ago said, he said, "Why did you wait so long to get to me?" Well, it had only been 3 days. I said, "It was 3 days. I wait 3 days and I do what I can, and then I come to see the doctor." He said, 2 days in Mexico. And he's one of the premier doctors here. So I want you to think that it's not like your U.S. insurance that might cover you in an emergency, or your Canadian insurance that might cover you in an emergency if you happen to have the right plan and you can talk them into it even though it's the fine print. It's not like they're necessarily going to be able to take care of you if you have an emergency. Most of us are of an age and a stage when emergencies happen a little more often. Emergencies are usually unpredictable. And so middle of the night, you may find yourself wondering, how do I even call 911 and what do I even say? Sarah Ash has been doing SkyMed here for a very long time, and they've just made her a vice president of SkyMed and hired her husband to be her backstop. She's my SkyMed representative. I'm not here to sell you SkyMed, but I'm telling you, I bought the 5-year plan. And because I said, "Hey, my friend so-and-so," I'm sorry, I don't remember who so-and-so was, but she does, recommended me, she gave me a discount. Sarah knows everything there is to know about Medevac. Even if you can be covered down here and you're still at the hospital and they say, "We can do that for you. We can handle that. If you'd prefer to go home, you can go home with SkyMed." So I want to present Sarah Ash. She has some solutions for us. Listen up, my friends, because the life you save may be your own.
Thank you, Robin. I'm actually not used to a microphone. I've got a very loud voice, so if we have any issues with the microphone, just give me indication. I understand the Zoom audience really need the microphone, so I'll work with that. Just as it's Valentine's Day, I do want to say, as Robin did and everybody before, Happy Valentine's Day. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. May you live your life with ease. And if you can say these things about yourself right now, then you're in a position to reach out and look out for people who can't say those things about their life right now. And so just please keep that in mind for everybody. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about Medevac in a more general sense. There will be certain SkyMed information in there. However, if you want more information about a SkyMed plan after the presentation, come up and see Robert and I. If you're on Zoom, you can contact us at sarah.ash@skymed.com, and that's Sarah with an H. So please follow up with us about more specific information. If you're already a member and you've got questions, again, come up and see us afterwards. So if you didn't already silence your phone, I don't know if Lee asked you to. We always ask people to silence their phone. If you've got questions, we're going to do questions and answers at the end. So please try and hold them so that we can get through the information we've got for you in the right amount of time. So what we're going to cover today is medical evacuation, facts, myths, and misconceptions. There's a lot of misinformation and rumor out there, and a lot of people work on that, which is not a good idea if you have an emergency and discover what you thought was a fact was actually a myth. And then we're also going to run through a little bit of homework for everybody. We've got a handout for everybody who wants it. A bilingual worksheet for you to learn the vocab on how to call an ambulance in Spanish. Okay, and we'll cover that after the Medevac information. So this is all part of planning. I know psychologically most people aren't really inclined to think about the difficult stuff. It's very, very typical. Don't feel bad if you've put it off. It's very, very normal to put off difficult things, right? We all procrastinate. But we're here to give you information on how to get very important parts of your planning put in place. Maybe you never need it, but if you've got your planning done, you've got your ducks in a row, when that emergency happens to you, you're going to be so, so glad you did the planning beforehand. So, okay, next slide, please, Robert. Okay, we're, as Robin said, we're Sarah and Robert Ash. We are now the VPs for Team Mexico, SkyMed Team Mexico in Mexico. We train and lead the SkyMed team throughout Mexico, and we're busy people. I just want to let you know that in the last month, Robert and I directly have received 3 phone calls in emergency situation from people who are not SkyMed members, who are desperate to get a loved one out of San Miguel. They're stuck in the hospital. And in those last 3 calls that have happened in the last 3-4 weeks, in one case, they were absolutely sure they had Medevac via a different means, which we're going to talk about what really does have Medevac, what really doesn't. And in a couple of the cases, it wasn't something that occurred to them until they needed it. And please don't be that person. This is just like car insurance. You can't crash the car and then walk away from the, the wreck that you made and with the phone call and try and buy car insurance, okay? This is something you need to look at beforehand. So these things really, really do happen to people. So those 3 examples I gave you, those are people who don't have SkyMed, and then the community say, oh, call Sarah. She's the lady with the plane, right? I can't help you in that situation if you're not a SkyMed member. But we average, for SkyMed members in San Miguel, 2 to 3 member services per month from here for people who already are members, okay? I remember in April, last April, we did 4. That was the first time I noticed that we did 1 a week, okay? So things really do happen to people. Now, the company as a whole, obviously it's much, much bigger. It's not just about moving people from San Miguel back to their homes in the States and Canada, but the company as a whole of SkyMed does 2 member services per day, okay? So we really are busy, and things do really happen to people. Okay, we already talked about silencing your cell phone, and we're here afterwards if you want to talk to us or make an appointment to see us. Okay, as I said, we're going to do the first part's medical evacuation. Second part, Robert's going to handle, because his Spanish is perfect, how to call an ambulance in Spanish. Okay. Next one, Robert. Okay, this is actually a photograph. I wanted to put this up. This is a SkyMed member from San Miguel being loaded on an air evac from a couple of years ago. I can give the name. By the way, when we use testimonials and actually give examples with names, please know that's because that member has offered to share their story. We abide by HIPAA regulations. So if you're a SkyMed member and you have a Medevac, they don't even tell Robert and I what's wrong with you. They don't even tell us what level of service you're getting. We're just told you've opened a file. This is actually Leslie Yeager being loaded into an air ambulance after she broke her hip, and we flew her to New York Presbyterian. Anybody know Leslie Yeager? Oh yeah, right. So she's a real person, right? Okay. Okay. So next one, Robert. Okay, here's a myth. Can't I just jump on a commercial flight home in a medical emergency? No, you can't. Now, if it's serious enough and you're clearly ill or injured, by the way, you can buy a ticket and roll up to the gate and they don't have to board you. They don't want the responsibility of an ill or injured person on a commercial flight. Okay, so that can happen to you for a start. Now, what if you're so badly ill or injured that you're in the hospital? You're not going home this way, okay? You have no way of getting out with a broken hip other than an air ambulance, okay? So no, that's a myth. Don't have that as your emergency plan. Okay. Okay. Now, this is the next level up of getting yourself out. What's a commercial medical escort and how much does one cost? Now, what this means is if you're able to fly commercially, you're ambulatory, and a doctor says you can fly commercially, in many situations you need, or the airline needs you to have, a medical escort. And this is how they mitigate their risk if they're loading somebody who's ill or injured. Okay, so, and we use this sort of service. I'll explain this later. So a medical escort, what's a medical escort? A medical escort is a licensed, bonded, trained, and equipped nurse, okay, who has the training and the equipment and the insurance to be a medical escort on commercial flights. We have a whole roster of them. And one of the levels of service with SkyMed, for example, is that your doctor says you can fly commercially, but they want you to have a nurse escort. We will arrange all of that, okay? We scramble that nurse, they fly down here, you're written into their care, they fly back with you, and they don't leave you till you're in the medical attention at the other end, okay? Now, you could arrange that for yourself. Would anybody have any idea how you start calling a service like that? Anybody got a clue? No, nobody ever has. If you figure out how to do it, it's going to cost you between $8,000 and $10,000 US, okay, to get yourself on that commercial flight to fly home, if that's the way you thought you were going to get out. Again, if you've got the right plan, this is part of the one of the levels of service. Okay. So my credit card or my travel insurance or my health insurance says it covers medical evacuation. Why do I need a SkyMed plan? We have a saying in this industry, which is the large print giveth and the small print taketh away. Now, we might have some lawyers in the room. Safe space. Any lawyers? You can raise your hand. Safe space? No? Okay, most of us aren't lawyers, and we don't read small print. Even if we force ourselves to, we very often don't understand the small print. It's written that way for a reason, right? That's the lawyers who do that. Okay, so what is the small print issue that prevents people who think they've got medical evacuation from receiving medical evacuation? And this is one of the cases that happened in the last month. The lady who called me, seriously stressed out of her mind, trying to get her husband home, had medical evacuation on a fancy credit card. Okay, so when she called, I think, next slide, Robert. When she called that fancy credit card for the medical evacuation, what she was told, and this is so common, and it's hidden in that small print that none of us read, most other assist and lookalike plans have small print that says they will evacuate you when medically necessary. Keep that in mind. And then if it's medically necessary, they'll move you to nearest adequate medical facility. Okay. Now, if you've got a medical background, you'll understand, or a legal background, medical necessity does not mean you think it's necessary to be flown home, or your partner thinks it's necessary to get you home. Medical necessity means, can the hospital you're currently in treat your condition? Can you receive that service in the local area? And if you can, these other companies don't have to take you anywhere. There is no medical necessity to move you. They may fly you home after discharge from hospital on a commercial flight to go home, but that doesn't get you out in the emergency, and it doesn't get you treatment where you want treatment, okay? So that's that first hurdle you've got to get over. Anybody remember what the second one was? Where will they take you if it's medically necessary? Nearest adequate medical facility. Again, psychologically here, if you were a good girl or boy and you read your small print, very often you read that and you think, oh, nearest adequate medical facility in my home country, in my home state or province, in my hometown. It says nearest adequate medical facility, period. Every word that's in a contract is in the contract for a reason. And every word that's missing is missing for a reason. So nearest adequate medical facility means, where would you guess it might be here if they can't treat you here in San Miguel? Thank you. Right. Is that where you wanted to go? Is that why you think you had medical? No. You want to go home. Okay. So these are things that you've really got to pay attention to. And that is not an issue with SkyMed, and I'll explain that later. Okay. So we've just covered this, and actually I had Robert hold that because the answer's right there, corretto, but you all came up with it by yourself, okay? Okay, so as I said, the large print giveth and the small print taketh away. Here's another restriction that happens a lot in small print. You think you've got medical evacuation, and you don't realize that it says in there that you have to be 100 or 150 miles away from your home for it to work. Now, if you're an expat in Mexico and you spend more than 6 months here, I don't care if you've got a mansion back home, your primary residence is legally here. That's what the lawyer's going to argue back at the assist company. You spend most of your time here, so your home is here. If you have one of these plans and you don't know about the 100, 150 miles, that means they will cover you when you leave San Miguel and you're 100 or 150 miles away from here. That's a big donut hole. Why do they put it in there? Anybody want to guess where the vast majority of accidents and illnesses happen? The majority, not all of them. Close to your home, because you spend the majority of your time there. Again, that's not an issue with SkyMed, but it is an issue with other plans that you may look at. Okay, so some SkyMed differences. In the SkyMed basic service area, it's very, very important that you understand that your evacuation is by members' choice. And this is all written in our member service agreement, okay, which we like to say has no small print because it's all in big print. And another thing that we're very proud of is we write our member service agreement in plain English. You can read a paragraph, and at the end you understand what it says. If you read small print in these other documents, I mean, it's designed to bamboozle you. The only person who knows what it really says in there is the lawyer who wrote it. Okay, so your evacuation with SkyMed is by members' choice. What we mean by that is even if they can treat your condition here, you as a member have the choice to have an evacuation. You don't have to stay, okay? And the second part of your choice, two choices, one, am I leaving, is where do we take you? Your home hospital of choice, not nearest adequate medical facility, and cheekily we just drive you in an ambulance down to Querétaro or Mexico City, okay? So another SkyMed difference, expats are protected right from their home here in Mexico. So then you're protected, if you've got a home in the States, you're protected right from home up there, works for you there, same thing in Canada, and then it works for you here. We're not trying to draw the 100 miles around your house and say, oops, sorry, didn't we tell you, not covered right there. Okay, you are covered right from your home here. And this will explain why we do as many services as we do, because we're not in the business of writing such tight restrictions that nobody can ever qualify. Okay, and that is the purpose of the small print on most other lookalike plans or assists, and that's what catches people out. Okay, doesn't the consulate get me a medical evacuation? The number of times I've heard that. Okay, next slide, please. Because if you think the consulate's job is to get you home in a medical emergency, that's a very old picture and it wasn't, right? Okay. You are barking up the wrong tree. No, it's not the consulate's job to get you a medical evacuation plan, flight arranged. It's not their job to pay for it. Okay, that is not their job. It's your responsibility to make sure you know how that would happen for you if the emergency happened to you. Okay, so that's an absolute no, total misconception. Okay, this is another big one. Doesn't my Medicare, VA, Canadian provincial insurance cover me here in Mexico? Well, this is a bit of an issue. Most Canadian provincial insurance would not cover you. Okay, next slide, please, Roy, because we go into this. Okay, the original Medicare, basic Medicare, some of those supplemental plans will cover you for short trips away from the States, usually up to 60 days out of the country. They would cover you for an emergency, for paying your costs here, not getting you home. Okay, and there is, again, nobody reads the small print, $50,000 lifetime maximum on those. So if you've had one, don't go looking around for a second one. You probably wouldn't qualify. Now, a lot of people have Medicare Advantage for the Americans in the room. And Medicare Advantage is being sold very, very heavily on it will cover your medical treatment here, okay? Well, the first thing I have to say about that, I'm not a Medicare expert, but I do know most Medicare Advantage plans are network-based, and you better be in your network area for 6 months a year. And if you're not, then again, you could find out the hard way eventually if they come looking at these plans. If you're an expat down here and you're expecting a Medicare Advantage plan to cover you, and you're not spending time back in your network area, you have to think twice about whether that's the right thing to do. Even if they will cover you, it's for an emergency. They will cover you, if you read your small print, until you're stable. They absolutely will not fly you home. 99% of them are not going to fly you home. You might find, if you dug around far enough, you might find a plan that has some medical evacuation, with or without the restrictions, but 99% of them, they're not going to handle a medical evacuation. My other point about this is, if you have a medical emergency, and Robin can attest to this from what she just said, you want options. You want options. Now, if it's something that's not that serious, and you're pretty sure your Medicare Advantage is going to pay for it, and you're willing to pay and then be reimbursed, and you want to stay here, fine, okay? If you've got a SkyMed plan, at that point we'll fly a friend or family member in on a round-trip ticket to come and help you from day one in the hospital. But I'm not going to name any names. I've got testimonials that people who want to come up and talk to me afterwards. I can think of 4 different occasions where I've had SkyMed members who were told here in San Miguel that they needed open heart surgery. That's pretty serious. Okay, and why do I know about them? These are people who've chosen to go home for that surgery. Okay, and why is it important? The 4 I'm thinking of, when they got back to their home hospital of choice, they don't wheel you off a plane, you know, with a SkyMed flight and take you right into the operating room and crack your ribs open. The doctors are going to look at your condition. They're going to make sure that, well, do you have any physical problems with the heart? They're going to do a background medical check. Essentially, that's a second opinion. The 4 I'm thinking of, and these are the ones I know of because people have told me. Remember, the company does not tell me what your medical condition is when you fly out. I'm thinking of one from last April. Some people in the room might know who this was, but we flew him to Houston with his wife in an air ambulance. He was told here he needed open heart surgery. We flew him to Houston. They do all the tests. Nothing physically wrong with his heart, okay? They do a good medical background history. Do you know what they found out? He was on double dose of his beta blocker, and that was causing all of those symptoms. That down here, they would have cracked him open, done the surgery, and what was wrong? His medication was wrong, okay? I got pictures from that flight. The wife took pictures on the flight. As soon as they landed, they showed me. The next day, I got the best picture, which was this SkyMed member out of bed, wearing the ugly gown, admittedly, giving a thumbs up and a curtsy to the camera for SkyMed because he'd been told he did not need open heart surgery. They were going to fix him by balancing his med or changing his beta blocker. And with his plan, when he was ready, we flew them both back to San Miguel. I'll give you another example that's not as serious as open heart surgery, but I have a member in PV, Puerto Vallarta, who went to 2 different gastro doctors. Both times she was told she had diverticulitis. Okay, so that 5, 3 and 5, I'll add those together. Okay, both times she was told she needed surgery for that diverticulitis, and the second doctor told her she would end up with a colostomy bag. Now, she's not hospitalized. She called SkyMed. That's what we need, a diagnosis. Doctor says, do you need air ambulance? Do you need a commercial nurse escort, or do you need commercial? Okay? We flew her commercially. Back in California, she was told it was diverticulitis. Do we have any nurses or medics in the room? She was told she should start with oral antibiotics and change her diet. And we flew her home 5 years later, no surgery. Those are options, even if you think your Medicare Advantage is going to cover you here. At a time like that, you want to have the option of, am I staying? Are they scalpel happy? Do they know what they're talking about? Or am I leaving? Okay. Okay, so I've covered most of this. We cover the 3 different levels of flight: air ambulance, commercial nurse escort, commercial, for all SkyMed members, depending on what's wrong with your, at the time. Okay? Okay, Robert, I think we should do the oh, wait a minute. Okay. How expensive is medical evacuation? I do have to discuss this. Anybody got any idea how much it would cost you if you arranged it? Sorry? 20,000. Okay, we've just done one out of Acapulco back to Vancouver last week, and at our cost, $48,000. If that's our cost. If you call an air ambulance company, they have you over a barrel. You have no way of negotiating with them. You're under time constraints. You're seriously stressed. It's going to cost you $50,000 to $80,000 US. Okay, so if you want me to go into the how to call an ambulance in Spanish, right? Robert will do that. I think does that microphone work? And then people who want SkyMed information, come up and see us afterwards. Make an appointment to see us. We can come see you at home. We can invite you to a seminar. But please don't be one of those people who goes by the large print and not understand the small print, because as Robin says, when you want that service, you want to know you've got that service. Okay, thank you.
Okay, how much time do I have? 2 minutes? All right, Sarah's going to distribute. Sarah's distributing a handout that basically goes through the questions that you will be asked when you call an emergency for an ambulance. There are 3 options. It's always tough to follow Sarah because she's so good at this. Anyway, these are the questions that you will be asked. If you call 911, okay, if you call the Cruz Roja here, or if you call a private hospital. Now, this is part of your plan that Sarah mentioned at the beginning. You want to have a plan. You want to know what hospital you want to go to. Please go and check out these hospitals, okay? So the first question that you will be asked by the responder is, ¿Qué puedo hacer por usted? What can I do for you? Okay, so please, as I read these, go home, be familiarized with the questions that you will be asked. Sarah spent some time with the president of the Cruz Roja here in San Miguel, and these are the questions you will be asked. Okay, so it's a standard procedure that they follow. So the first thing that they will ask is, what can I do for you? ¿Qué puedo hacer por usted? Or they may ask, ¿cuál es su emergencia? What is your emergency? Okay, so be prepared with an answer. You need to tell them what it is that you need. Okay, do I need an ambulance? Do I need firefighters, etc.? Okay. The next question that they will ask you is, ¿qué es lo que pasa? What is happening? In other words, what is going on with you right now? So you must be able to describe what it is that I'm having a heart attack, tengo un ataque al corazón, me caí, I fell, me quebré la pierna, I broke my leg. Whatever it is, you need to be able to explain to them, because based on your response is the type of ambulance they're going to send. Not all ambulances are the same. Okay, the next question they will ask is, ¿Dónde está usted? Where are you? Now, we know that this is kind of a tricky question here in San Miguel, because how many of us know that in one street there are 3 number 14s, right? One with a yellow door, one with a red door. So you've got to be prepared to tell them which number 14 they need to go to. All right, so please practice that. The next question they will ask you is, ¿Cuál es su nombre? What is your name? All right, obviously you will give them your name. They will tell you, mando o mandaremos una ambulancia en 5, 10, 15 minutos. So they'll tell you, we're sending an ambulance to pick you up in 10, 15 minutes. Okay? Then this final part is very important. They will ask you for your phone number. Okay? Unfortunately, here in Mexico, there are a lot of pranksters that used to call 911 to have these ambulances go all over the place. So they will call to confirm that you actually do have an emergency. So you need to give them a landline Do not give them your American cell phone number, okay? They will not call. You need a landline. They won't get through. So you need a landline or a local number where they can call back and confirm that indeed there is a need for an ambulance. Okay, so based on that, if you do not answer or if they have trouble coming through, the ambulance is not coming to get you. Okay, you need to answer that phone and you need to confirm that you need the ambulance. And only at that point will they send out the ambulance for you. Okay, so please take this with you, leave it on the refrigerator, practice it with a partner, practice it with a friend, because you need to be familiarized with these questions and familiarized with the answers that you need to give.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So in appreciation of your visit, until you become members, what happened to your mugs? You already packed your mug? Oh, my goodness. Thank you. Anyhow, thank you for coming. So this has been a great meeting. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. It's wonderful to have visitors from so many parts of the world. It makes our life much more interesting. And until next week, happy Valentine's Day. One second.
Before everyone leaves, Lee had asked me to mention how I became a Rotary Scholar, and I believe your granddaughter is a Rotary Fellow. So just give me 5 minutes, it won't take too long. I am truly happy to be here today because it is Thanksgiving, Valentine's. It is Valentine's Day, and if it weren't for Rotary, Sarah and I would not be married. Many years ago, I won a Rotary scholarship to go to Scotland. And this has really made it possible for us to have very deep roots with Rotary. First, as a Rotary scholar, yes, I do go over there, and you do get I got a master's degree at the University of Aberdeen. It was a wonderful experience. I got to share my story as an ambassador of goodwill, which is actually what you're over there for. You're over there as an ambassador for Rotary, and I represented and had the great honor of being a representative of Rotary, Ohio, believe it or not. So I was the Ohio representative in Scotland at the University of Aberdeen, so I got to go speak at the different Rotary clubs. While over there, obviously I did receive my master's degree. However, I also learned about the 4 ways of Rotary. I learned about truth. I learned about being an ambassador in every aspect of your life, okay? And I owe that to Rotary. Additionally, I met Sarah in Aberdeen. So it is serendipitous that on this day, we're here at the Rotary. So it is absolutely wonderful to be here. Rotary fellowships are an incredible experience, and it is something that has taught me to love Rotary, not only because of that. I used to be a member of the Rotary Club in Key Biscayne, Florida before I moved here, and Sarah was a member of this club several years ago before we got too busy to even be at home for that long. Yes, so thank you for the invitation. It's an honor for us to be here, and if you guys have any questions about Rotary scholarships or the fellowship, I would be more than pleased to let you know what your granddaughter is in for. Thank you.